All right, ladies and gentlemen, so today's lesson is on completing the square for the second day. If you remember the last day that we spent completing the square, the leading coefficient was always 1. Now we're going to talk about what you should do if the leading coefficient is going to be greater than 1. All right, so take a look at question number 1 for me, please. In question number 1, the leading coefficient is 2. So I'm going to treat it exactly like I treated the other one for the first step, where I'm going to write my ax squared term, my bx term, and then I'm going to take my c term and I'm going to put it on the side. Now I'm going to force my leading coefficient to be a 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my first two terms right here, and I'm going to factor out the GCF, which is 2. So once I factor out this GCF, I end up getting x squared plus 8x. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of space, and then I'm going to copy the rest of the problem down, the rest of the expression down. Here, all I have to do now is just simply complete the square for what's inside of my parentheses right here. So I'm going to complete the square right in here. So just like I normally would do, I would take my b value, which is 8, divide it by 2, and then I would square it. So that turns into 4 squared, which is 16. Okay? Now, here's where you need to pay extra close attention. I'm going to write plus 16 here to complete the square for what's inside of this set of parentheses here, but I technically did not add 16. I actually added 2 times 16. This 2 would be distributed to this 16, so I technically added 32. So since I added 32 over here, I need to make up for it by subtracting 32 over here. All right, now that I've done that, I can take what's inside of my parentheses and I can factor it as a perfect square. So this ends up becoming x plus 4 quantity squared. Copy the 2 down in front, and then just combine your like terms right here. You get minus 29, and that's how you complete the square when the leading coefficient is not 1. All right, we're going to do one more example together. We're not going to do number 3 in your notes, so all you have to do is complete 1 and 2. So same thing, you're just going to take your first two terms, your ax squared and your bx, and you're going to write them first. Then you're going to separate the c from everyone, so I'm going to write minus 5 at the end right here. Now, in order to get a leading coefficient, right now my leading coefficient is 4. In order to change this leading coefficient from a 4 to a 1, I have to factor out a 4. And it will create a fraction, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So what will end up happening is this will look like 4 times x squared minus 2 over 4 right here. When I divide those out, it turns out to be 1/2 x. And then I'm going to write minus 5 at the end. Okay? Now, pay close attention to what I'm going to do next. Right here, I'm going to take my b value, which is negative 1/2. I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to square it. Okay, I'm actually going to do this on a new page so you can kind of see it a little bit better. So again, I'm going to take negative 1/2, cut that in half, and then I'm going to square that. Okay, now remember, when you divide fractions, you just basically are multiplying by the reciprocal. So this turns into negative 1/2 multiplied by this 2 over 1 becomes 1/2, and the whole thing is still being squared. So then, once you do that, you end up getting negative 1/4 squared, which gives you positive 1/16. All right? And you can do all of this in your calculator. So go ahead and grab your calculator, and I'm going to type this exact expression in right here, and you'll see that it's going to give me 1/16. Okay, so in your calculator, we're going to type in exactly what we had in this expression right here. So let's go ahead and do that. What you need to have is, first of all, you need your parentheses, okay? And then, I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but you can actually type in a fraction into your calculator. First of all, you can always just use the division sign, but you can also press Control, Divide, and you'll see a fraction in front of you. So, the thing is that this is a fraction inside of a fraction. So right now what I've done is this first fraction, and then in my numerator, I'm going to put in a second fraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Control Divide again, and now I have my fraction within my fraction. So up here, I'm going to type in -1 over 2, and that was all being divided by 2. I'm going to go to the right so that I can close my parentheses, and then I'm going to square the whole thing and then press enter. That's the 1/16 that you should get. So now I'm going to go ahead and complete the square. So this 1/16 is the value that I want to add in. So I'm going to write plus 1/16 over here. Do not forget that the number that I'm going to get rid of over here to balance it out so it's 0 has to be 1/16 multiplied by 4. So I'm going to take 1/16, multiply it by 4 over 1, and that ends up giving me 1/4 in simplest form because this becomes a 4, this becomes a 1. You can also do it right in your calculator. Take 1/16, so 1 divided by 16, multiply that by 4, and you will also end up getting your 1/4 that you want right here. So this is the 1/4 that we want. So I'm going to go back to where I completed the square. Since I added 1/4, I need to subtract 1/4. And then I'm just going to figure out what this expression is when it is factored. So it will become x minus 1/4 squared. Remember, it's 1/4 because 1/4 squared is 1/16, and 1/4 doubled is 1/2. Copy the 4 down, and then just combine the -5 with a -1/4. So I'll figure out what -5 minus 1/4 is. Again, you should be able to do this without an issue by just getting a common denominator of 4, and then figuring out that -5 is -20 over 4. Subtract another 1/4, and that's how you get your -21 over 4. So this will end up becoming minus 21 over 4, and I've completed the square. Now, because this video is on the shorter side, please use the extra time that you would have spent to watch this video to get to getting caught up on your blue packet. The sooner you get caught up, the better shape you're going to be. All right, have a good night.